Hi, this is the second part of my description of Spinoza's life, and I hope you enjoy it. After his excommunication, when he was 23, Spinoza left Amsterdam's Jewish quarter and lived in various places. He lived in Rinsburg, Voorburg and The Hague. He rented modest rooms, often in the homes of sympathetic hosts, such as the painter Herman Homan in Rinsburg or the Van der Sprik family in The Hague. His living spaces were simple, reflecting on his rejection of material excess. He reportedly kept very few possessions, with a small library of books of philosophy, science and classics, and his lens grinding equipment. As he earned his living by grinding and polishing lenses for microscopes and telescopes, and also eyeglasses, the skilled trade required precision and knowledge of optics, aligning his interest in science and the idea of figures like Christian Huygens. He worked at a small lathe, often for long hours, producing high-quality lenses that were in high demand among scientists. The work was physically taxing and exposed him to a lot of glass dust, which is probably why he died at the age of 44, because of a lung condition, either tuberculosis or silicosis, which was a great shame because he was only 44 years old. Spinoza dedicated much of his day to philosophical writing and reflection. He worked on the Ethics, which was his magnum opus, and other texts like the Theological Political Treatise. His writing process was methodical, often with many drafts and revisions. You can see this in the geometric structure of the Ethics. He also engaged in correspondence with other intellectuals like Henry Oldenburg, Gottfried Leibniz and others, discussing philosophy, science and politics. These letters were often written in Latin, as this was his language of preference, and they revealed a disciplined thinker who valued clarity and reasoned debate. He didn't really have a timetable, but he was very structured in his behaviour. People like his biographer, Colerus, describe Spinoza as having a structured yet unhurried routine, which is very like what he promotes as the way to live, is basically with reason. He spent the evenings and quiet hours for writing, reading and contemplation. As I said before, he liked to go for a walk, so he'd wake early, do his lens grinding, then he would sit and contemplate, take breaks for walks, or take breaks to sketch. Sketching wasn't really his big thing, the philosophy was. He ate frugally and had simple meals like porridge with raisins or bread and cheese. He wasn't a great lush either, because he didn't drink excessively. He drank water or chose watered down alcohol, light beers I think you call them. As a person he was reserved, but he wasn't reclusive. He had friendships with like-minded individuals who were interested in free thinking. He had friendships with scientists and members of liberal religious groups like the Collegians. He occasionally discussed ideas with visitors or at informal gatherings, but he avoided public attention to steer free of controversy. After all, he wanted to concentrate on doing his work, not on defending it. He didn't want the hostility that his ideas might have provoked, because he was really questioning the status quo. He was very cautious about public exposure. This is evident after his excommunication, which must have clearly upset him, and the fact that his Theological Political Treatise had to be published anonymously. He's trying to stay out of the limelight. He wants his work to be known, but he doesn't want the drama that goes with it. When you read about Spinoza from other people's perspectives who met him, they say that he was calm, courteous and unpretentious. He avoided conflict, even when criticised or misunderstood, because he applied reason to everything and he understood cause and effect. So because of that, he was a very reasoned individual and he practiced what he preached. He lived by the rational principle that he outlined in his ethics. He emphasised mastering emotions through reason, which probably influenced his demeanour and how he appeared quite serene to other people. He wasn't easily baited, he wasn't triggered, he wasn't tempted into negative debates, if you like. He stripped all that away. So in that way he was negative because he'd stripped it away. Something you might not know about Spinoza was that he was offered wealth and prestigious positions, such as a professorship at Heidelberg University in 1673. But he wanted his independence, so he declined them. He was notably frugal and lived on minimum expenses, sometimes spending a few pence a day. So we can talk about Spinoza's health. He was frail. You can see from his images, his paintings of him, that he wasn't a robust man. And it was likely that the lens grinding work would have contributed to this. By his late 30s, he was already showing signs of respiratory illnesses, which worsened over time. Despite this, he remained productive. He compiled his ethics and other works. His excommunication isolated him from his family and community, but he found support among his small circle of friends and admirers who valued his idea. What is really important to know is that his philosophy, as he expressed it in Ethics, was not just a theory. It was a guide for living, one which he embodied himself. He wanted to embody his ideas about reason, virtue and understanding the universe, which God or nature. His daily life was marked by simplicity, intellectual rigour and resilience in the face of ostracism. This reflected his belief that true happiness comes from aligning oneself with the rational order of reality, not the imagination, reality, what is around you now, what is really going on, not what do you think is going on, what do you think has happened. You don't know, you only know what is around you now. Spinoza's daily life was a testament to his philosophy of living according to reason and necessity. If you imagine yourself in that era, in Amsterdam and the Dutch Republic, Holland was a big thing in those days. So in this bustling, tolerant yet religiously fraught Dutch Republic, he carved out a quiet space for contemplation, undeterred by social rejection or material hardship. His lens-grinding work connected him to the scientific revolution, while his writing and correspondence placed him at the heart of 17th century intellectual debate. His routine on the surface looks unremarkable, but it did enable him to produce ethics. His work continues to influence philosophy nowadays. Thank you for watching and listening to this, and I will shortly have another one ready for you. Thank you.